WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. This time I have something from Austria, just south of Germany, Austria. And we have here from the Hiebl Distillery, George number 4. So Georg Hiebl, he made this whiskey, named it after himself, George or Georg, number 4, and it's 41%, and it is pure corn whiskey slash, he said to itself, it's corn malt whiskey. Is it malted corn whiskey or corn and malt whiskey? I don't know. So sometimes it's just, I don't really care where it comes from, why it was made, how it was made, what it was made of. The only thing that's important sometimes is, do I like it? Is it okay? Or do I want to avoid it? So what we have here is actually a distillery in Austria, about 30 minutes south east of Linz, and they won the best. They won in 2021 the Craft Spirits Award from Berlin. So this is something very, very interesting. So what happened was he actually sent in Georg Hiebl from the city of Haag, Haag. He sent in here, I think it was 41 products. Yes, and he received, of those 41 products, he received 16 gold, 22 silver, and 3 bronze medals. Yay. And he was named the Craft Spirit of the Year. Wow. So now this guy actually won the world title in 2014 from the IWSC, the International Wines and Spirits Competition, I think it's called, in London. And he has had many, many different other award-winning awards given to him. So yes, 41 samples, 41 prizes. Now, he produces on his little pot still with a hybrid pot still with a column still attached, over 120 different types of schnapps and liqueurs. That's 120 different types. I mean, I can name, like, we have a gin, and we have maybe a rum, and we have maybe a peppermint schnapps, and we have this type of schnapps, and we have that type of schnapps, and we have maybe a strawberry liqueur, and we have this type of liqueur, and and this one. But 120 different things I can never imagine. Now, what's really, really confusing for me is when I go to the website here of the distillery, HiebelDistillery.at, then I see there's still the George number 1. And the George number 1 basically says here, the best ingredients, very meticulously distilled and matured for at least 3 years. Those are the ingredients for a tasting experience of the superlative. So George number 1 is a whiskey according to the traditional bourbon, the classic bourbon tradition. Now I got the translation here. And was first introduced 2005, that's a long time ago, and has, from the very beginning, found a lot of fans that liked it. So now, according to the article online, we actually now have a distillate that is 12 years old. So I think that's very, very interesting. It's now 12 years of age. So, all right, that's what we're looking at here. So this is a pure corn malt whiskey, matured 12 years. And it's it's like a bourbon. Now, the color is pretty dark. What type of casks? Hopefully oak casks, I assume. Are they new? Were they used? Were they charred? Were they toasted? Were they heavily toasted, lightly charred? Were they lightly toasted, heavily charred? We don't know. Has he Georg Hiebl distilled anything else since then that's a whiskey? We don't know. So we do know that I have a 12-year-old product here in the glass, and we do know that according to the website, it's 41% ABV. Now, there is a price list online that I can find, and on that price list, I actually have here the ability to say, oh, I want to buy this whiskey. The whiskey is for a 50 cl bottle, which would be illegal in the United States, 59 euros. And if you wanted to buy a 20 cl, also not allowed, that would be 29 euros. So if you do the math, it's for a liter, we're talking about 110 euros. So if you're talking about a normal 750 bottle, we're going to talk about $80. That's a lot of money to pay for a whiskey. At the moment, Elijah Craig just hit our market. I think it's the B22 edition, and we have B922, no, B622 is what it has to be, with 60.5 ABV. 73 euros. Booker's, the 22 O2 Lumberyard batch hit here a couple months ago. We were at 74 to 80. I can buy great cask strength whiskey, or I can buy this. And if it really wants to go like a bourbon, let's see how well it is, how well it does. All right, good. On the nose. Now, the first thing I get is I get that whiff of craftiness. It's made at a craft distillery. I do get a little bit of a acetone moment. The alcohol is there. I do get a little bit of that corn dustiness, like think mellow corn. But I also get a raspberry slash, and this is what really kind of disturbs my enjoyment of this whiskey, burnt caramel. We have a creme brulee, which is great. Burnt sugar, which turns into caramel. But if you keep on burning it even more, you get something that I don't like. And that's what I'm getting here. There is that toffee butterscotch caramel moment, but then every once in a while it just kind of tips over that line and gets into somewhere where it shouldn't be. A lot of the alcoholic vapors coming into the nose, and it's 41%. I was expecting 41% to be very watery. No, I actually had a problem on my shelf here looking for something that's 40 some percent. Most of it's 45, 50% plus. Cheers. No Basil Hayden there at the moment. Sorry. Mm-hmm. It definitely tastes like something that a craft producer would try to make. A Koval, a Journeyman, to name two craft distillers that I've tasted just recently. That burnt alcohol, that burnt caramel moment towards the end is still there. It starts off fairly nice, but then it just, it turns into something I just don't enjoy that much. So sorry. Is this a poorly made whiskey? No. Is it hitting my profile points? Also, unfortunately, not. Is this maybe the best, can I say that, bourbon style whiskey of Europe? And to be honest, who cares, in my opinion? Now, I highly recommend that every country in the world should try to make their own single malt whiskey. I love it when we go outside of Scotland and Ireland and produce single malt. I encourage other distilleries to do that. But in that moment where a distillery tries to recreate a bourbon outside of America, I'm like, stop it. Don't do that. You're not allowed. And it's just like, I'm a hypocrite. I'm really a hypocrite. Yeah, I'm single malt all day long. Do whatever you want. Make a rye for all I care. But you're going to go into bourbon territory and you're outside of the USA? I do not like that. Which is kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean, why don't we just allow them to make their own corn whiskeys? Why don't we just allow them to make their own corn whiskeys? Can't call it bourbon. That's protected, just like you can't call it scotch outside of Scotland. But at least you could call it corn whiskey. You could call it a sour mash whiskey. You could call it anything you like as long as it doesn't start with the B word. Go for it. Go for it. I just have to sometimes remind myself that it's okay to go for it. Now we're inspiring others to make good whiskey. Now, this would be actually very interesting. I just did a podcast with my buddy over here in German about MGP. Sorry, Ross and Squibb Distillery. Used to be LDI. Before that was the Seagram's Distillery. Then it was MGP, and now it's the Ross and Squibb Distillery. And we talked about one of the mash bills, which I love. It was 51% corn and 49% malted barley. I was like, I want to try that. That sounds good. And that's also the question here. Is that maybe a little bit of malt in there as well, more than I am aware of? And there's zero rye. And I'm not a wheated bourbon fan. I do like high rye bourbons. I love rye. And this is maybe just really like a Garrison Brothers. No, Garrison's is a wheated, like a Balcones Baby Blue. Oh, I actually have a bottle someplace of that. Maybe that would be the better comparison here. All right, so no comparison today. This is not hitting all cylinders for me. And I'm going to just put a little bit of water in here, dilute it down. The 41% are strong. If you would have said it's 50%, I would have believed you. It's that much of a difference between what the bottle says and what my tongue says. Even when you put water in it, does the dilute it, it comes out a little bit more of those fumes there. It's got a leathery moment, but it's almost like it's almost too soon from the cattle's back. It's a little bit of a farmyard note on that leather still. Man, that's not my thing. C minus minus for the taste, and the value for money, of course, is going to be a D. Nothing I would like. Now, I have a problem. I've tried at least 8 different distilleries from Austria, and I've had not a single whiskey where it's wowed me yet. Maybe one day there will be one. This was given to me as a sample from Jacob. Thank you very much. He actually was ranting and raving about how great this whiskey was. And Jason, you have to try it. I'd love to have your opinion. He actually hand delivered to my doorstep and gave this to me today, actually, the day I'm filming here, and said, "Here, try this." And before I forgot to do it, I decided to do it right away. A lot of things going on, and now I have this, and I thank you for that. But otherwise, I don't think I've had a great Austrian whiskey. I don't think I've had a great Swiss whiskey yet. The question is, have I had a great German whiskey? Stork Rye was really good. So that full proof was really, really good. Other whiskeys from Germany have been good, but that was really, really good. All right, so I have had. Some of the distilleries over here in the mainland Europe are doing interesting things. I will try to keep you updated, and every once in a while I'll put out a video to show you what's going on over here. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, telling others, maybe even sharing with your friends in Austria. So my question of the day is, what type of whiskey have you heard of that is bourbon style? Now, I do know Crown Royal made a bourbon style, and they put bourbon on the label, and they were sued. That's not something you want to do again. And so you're always very, very careful of that, yeah. And the same thing's happening at the moment with different people getting cease and desist letters with Irish pot still styled whiskey. You can call it pot still all you want, but I don't know if you can call it Irish pot still style whiskey. All right. So what type of whiskeys do you know of that actually use more of the corn and making it more of the traditional American style? Thanks very much for watching. All the best. Bye-bye.